Hello, I am Andre Morris, the owner of My PC Techs. We are a managed IT and computer support firm servicing the entire Phoenix metro area. As part of my work, I get to go around to businesses all over Phoenix and oftentimes have my clients ask me various questions about their computers and how to make them work. One of the questions I get asked all the time is if I buy a new laptop, or if I buy a new monitor, or if I buy a new computer, how do I hook it up to my TV, to my monitor at work? How do I add a second monitor? A lot of people just want to know how they know if the monitor is compatible with their computer or how to hook those connections up. And so the purpose of this video today is for me to help you understand the process that we have to go through in order to find out if your computer or your laptop is going to be compatible, and if not, then how do we make it all work together, okay? So there are 5 main video outputs that computers traditionally will use to connect from a computer to a television or to a monitor. And those 5 video outputs are VGA, DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort, and Mini DisplayPort. So I want to show you how you can, on your own, evaluate the equipment that you have and determine whether or not it's all going to work together. So the important thing is to know what these different connectors, these 5 different video outputs, what they look like and how to identify them. So I brought in some cables here. And I just want to show you a real quick way for you to identify what type of connector you're looking at. Okay, so the first one I mentioned is VGA. And a VGA connector, this is a VGA cable. Doesn't always have to be blue, usually is. But if you look, a VGA cable is not quite a square or a rectangle, but it's rounded on 2 edges, and it looks similar to this. So that's what you're going to do, is evaluate what that plug-in looks like so you know exactly what you're working with. That is a VGA connector. A DVI connector, on the other hand, this is a DVI cable that plugs into a DVI connector. So a DVI will be a longer rectangle similar to this, okay? And it has a different series of pins, which I'll zoom in here. Hopefully you can see what those pins look like on DVI. For those of you not familiar with HDMI, it's used a lot with televisions and to input into TV, stuff like that. A lot of laptops usually have HDMI. So the HDMI is a cable that's not quite a rectangle. It has it's a thin cable. It's a thin connector, but it has these rounded edges down on the bottom, and that's what an HDMI connection would look like right there. Then you also have what's called a DisplayPort. So a DisplayPort is essentially similar to HDMI. It's the same kind of size, but only on one edge do you see that there's this rounded edge here on a DisplayPort. It kind of looks like a D, right, if you look at it. So that's a DisplayPort. Now, a Mini DisplayPort, on the other hand, is smaller than any of those. And you can see on this laptop, and I can zoom in on this so you can take a look. It has a little D icon next to it sometimes on the actual equipment itself, but it's a much smaller connection, and it looks almost like a square, but rounded on the bottom. And that's a Mini DisplayPort connection. So how do you know if your laptop or your computer will connect? What you want to do is you want to look at both of your pieces of equipment. So in this case, we have a laptop. And what I would do is either look up the specs online to find out what video output is supported, or you can actually look at the device itself and see if you notice any of those 5 different types of connectors on the device itself. So in this case, looking around, I've got USB, which isn't for us, but here, this is a Mini DisplayPort output. So I know at the very least I can output Mini DisplayPort from this device, and then nothing on the back, but on the side of this laptop, I have another port here, which this is an VGA connector. So I know I can go from this device, I can go VGA out, Mini DisplayPort out. Now, a lot of laptops will have HDMI. This one does not. But you'll also pretty commonly find an HDMI output from a laptop. And then for a desktop, I have one down here. Same story here. You just look at the back of your desktop and you can look to see that's a VGA output, so we know we can do that. That is an HDMI output on the back there, so we can go out HDMI. So my desktop will do HDMI and VGA out, and my laptop will do VGA and Mini DisplayPort out. So then the question is, how do I connect those to my television or to, let's say, like a monitor like this one here? How do I connect those? Well, that's the next step, is look at your television or look at your monitor, and when you take a look at the inputs, you can see what they have as far as inputs are concerned. So with this particular monitor, we have a VGA input and we have a DVI input. So since we know that my laptop and my desktop both support VGA, it's very simple for us to acquire a regular VGA cable. Goes from VGA to VGA. We plug that into the back of the monitor, and then we plug that into the laptop. And because it's VGA to VGA, the connection is seamless, right? What if all I have is, say, some desktops, all they have are DisplayPort connections, which again is this rounded rectangle. What happens if you have a desktop that has a DisplayPort output, but your monitor only has a DVI? Well, that's what this is for. This is an Amazon Basics connector. You can find these on Amazon for almost every type of conversion you need to do. So if you need to go from VGA to HDMI, if you need to go from DisplayPort to DVI, usually that's the search you would do when looking for a part on Amazon, is what you're going from, what you're going to. And the reason for that is because some of these adapters are only in one direction, meaning with this adapter, for example, I'm not going to go from DVI to DisplayPort. I'm going to go from DisplayPort to DVI. So you want to make sure you buy the right connector from DisplayPort to DVI. And then all I would do in this instance is, since I know my desktop supports DisplayPort, I would plug that into the DisplayPort of my desktop, and then I would take the DVI cable that came with my monitor that I already have and plug that into this port, and then I would plug that into the DisplayPort on my monitor. And that's how I would go from my desktop out to my monitor that had DisplayPort. You can do the same with other types of connectors. So, for example, here I have a DisplayPort converting to an HDMI, and here I have a DisplayPort converting to a VGA. They also have adapters where you convert from Mini DisplayPort to HDMI, for example. So you can, those are popular, so you can go into televisions. So if you wanted to connect a TV to a desktop that only had a DisplayPort, you would get a DisplayPort to HDMI, and then take this, take an HDMI cable, which again is this rectangle with the rounded bottoms, and you would connect your HDMI cable from your adapter into your television, and that should work. Now just keep in mind, not all adapters are created equally. So not all our adapters are created equal, I should say. So you want to take a look and make sure that in the comments of any part that you buy, people are saying that it works for the purposes that you're trying to use it for. I have seen some, for example, like a HDMI to VGA adapter not work, and it might be because it wasn't prepared correctly, or it wasn't manufactured properly. And so you want to make sure that you get a part that is verified and tested. You can also buy parts like this. This is called a coupler, and what this does is it takes a short HDMI cable, and you go in one side. I can zoom in there, and on the other side you can take a longer HDMI cable or another HDMI cable, second shorter one, and you can extend it. So this helps you take the same cable but add two of the same types together and extend them. In any case, that's pretty much what you need to know as far as compatibility between monitors and computers. Is you look at the computer first, or the laptop, find what outputs you have, look at the monitor or the television, find what inputs you have, and then acquire the necessary adapter that will take you from your output to your input. And you can do all kinds of stuff. So for example, a lot of computers have 2 DisplayPort plugs on the back. A lot of Dells have those, and so what you can do there is you can actually plug in 2 DisplayPort outputs. And for example, if you have one monitor that has VGA and another monitor has DVI, you can go DisplayPort to VGA, DisplayPort to DVI, and you can have dual monitors set up from your desktop, which is really helpful if you like to do a lot of Excel work or things where you require multiple screens. So I hope that answered your questions. Again, my name is Andre Morris with My PC Techs. You can find us at mypctechs.com, and look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and subscribe or leave your comment. Thank you.